I have randomly selected some cards and I'm going to do a general reading based on these cards that I have. Okay, so I would also add to what I already have on the table. I would just randomly select and we'll dive into advice cards at the end. All right, so general messages, it's general to the collective, so take what resonates with you and leave behind what belongs to somebody else. I always tell you guys, use your own wisdom and discernment when you listen to any of my videos, and trust your intuition. It is going to guide you accordingly. So I have here as the first card, observing, quietly observing and taking notes. So there may be a situation right now in your life where you are just the silent observer, as I like to refer to it, where you are just listening, you're observing, and you are taking notes. Uh, it's good to do that. It's good to observe quietly in order to arrive at your own objective. Uh, I want to say your own objective opinions, and yeah, so it's going to vary depending on the situation you're in. So I also see here developing deeper spiritual awareness. So whatever it is you're doing right now, I do see some of you guys evolving spiritually and really tapping into your higher self to deal with a particular situation you may have um, in your life right now. And this is just an encouragement to trust your intuition. There may be people around you that are going on power trips. We'll put this one to the side, we'll put this one to the side, we'll put these to the side here for a bit. Yeah, so there may be people around you that are currently having like power trips, and those people who basically have to prove a point just because they have to prove a point, just because they have a represent I want to say it, but all of a sudden I can't speak. A reputation to maintain. They have an image to maintain, so they go out of their way to prove that they are not a type of person. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Those type of people. Some of you may have some of those people in your circle that are going on power trips right now. At the end of the day, I always tell you guys, the truth always comes to the light. So there's no need for you to really like, how do I say this? There's no need for you to do too much, all right? Because the answers always come naturally and the truth always comes to the surface. So people who are standing in their truth, they don't do too much, right? But people that are trying to cover up lies, trying to cover up things that they did or that they are guilty of, they're usually the people that are going above and beyond to prove a point, right? Or to speak their side of the story. But we all know how those situations pan out in the end. People see through, and people will always see through what is authentic and what is not authentic, right? For some of you, this may involve an ex, because this card also came out when I was randomly selecting. It says here, met each other to learn to not take it personally. And this is actually going to be the title of my reading, Don't Take Things Personally, because I always say people have their own shit that they're dealing with, things that nobody knows about. When you meet people, understand that there's something that they're dealing with that you have no idea about. And I feel like that's super important in this entire general read, because intuitively I do sense that maybe some of you, my collective, you may have you may be in a situation right now where you're probably dealing with rage baiting, or people trying to suck you into drama. But I think it's important to recognize those patterns. And from what I see, those of you that click on my videos, you are good with patterns. And just accept people for where they are at on their journey, but it's important to also leave people where they're at on their journey, because not everyone can come with you. As you ascend spiritually, as you tap into your higher consciousness, as you begin to do the internal work to actually lift your vibration, not everybody could come with you. Not everybody could come with you, and that's okay. In fact, some people don't want to do the internal work. Some people don't want to do the energy work, the healing work, in order to really tap into their highest potential. And instead, some of them are comfortable with misery, right? I see it all the time. Some people are just comfortable in their dysfunction, right? Their functional dysfunction, the way I put it. And it's important to recognize these things and not take anything personally, because people have their own shit that they're dealing with. I also see here forgive even when no apology is given, and this is key, because most times people think, you have to forgive people only when an apology is given, and I'm here to tell you that that is far from the truth. Sometimes you really need to forgive people so that you can have your internal peace and find your internal peace. Sometimes you have to forgive people because it's the only way that you can free yourself from any sort of grievances you may have towards somebody, or any sort of negative emotions you may harbor towards another individual, right? So forgiveness is key. Forgiveness is not for other people, it is for you and your peace of mind only. It says here, using your shadows strategically. So maybe some of you need to learn how to tap into your shadow side when you need to, in order to really set boundaries with people. Some people only understand strategic, moves, right? And it's sad, but it is what it is. I think, with some individuals, you have to be way more strategic than usual, okay? I see here good with patterns. Some of you are actually, as I said, really good at picking up patterns in people, what they do on a regular basis, and that's usually the truth. Anything that people repeat continuously, be it their behavior, their comments, their anything along those lines, believe it when I say that's who they are. Right? So if there's a pattern you see with somebody, that's who they are. Don't try to paint it any other color. Don't try to make it into what it is not. Accept people for where they're at on their journey, and sometimes, as I said, you have to leave people behind. I'm seeing here first impression seductive. So some of you in my collective may potentially be dealing with the harsh judgments of other people. Okay, so on first impression, people may think that you're really seductive. That's probably all you have going for yourself. You might deal with people who say things like you use your looks to your advantage, your surface level, you're materialistic, you're this, that, and the third. Again, people have their own bullshit that they're dealing with. And most times people tend to project when they are not doing the healing work, when they're not looking within, they project their negativity onto others. And sometimes if you have spiritual neutrality, or you have an energy where you're just a neutral human being existing in your truth, you can sometimes attract people that have the world of negative things to say about your appearance, your physical appearance. People make harsh judgments based on jokes. Sometimes you may say something in joking and people may run with that as if it's gold, right? I call them the Sherlock Holmes people. They run with every little clue, every little hint, and they try to piece together things that probably don't even exist, right? So let's go into nice laugh. So some of you, in my collective, some people really enjoy your laughter, and that's just a positive twist to all of the information here, and also an encouragement to focus on your positive traits. So even if you found yourself in the middle of negative criticism, or you find yourself in a position where people are saying negative things about you, just remember that you have a bunch of positive traits that you can focus your energy on, and never internalize the projections of others. Do not allow how other people see you to define who you are. Know who you are, stand in your truth, and if you're still discovering who you are, then I wish you the best on your journey. All right, so let's end with some advice cards. Okay, I'm holding my phone with one hand because my tripod stand is just being a bitch. So I'm going to randomly select cards from this deck. Alright, so let's randomly select some advice for my collective. All right, let's see. What does my collective need to know right now? Right. I always see the best in myself. Yeah, that's basically what I was saying a couple minutes ago with focusing on your positive traits. Do not internalize people's bullshit, for want of a better term, BS, and remember that there are positive traits within you to really see, acknowledge, and value about yourself, my collective. What else? It says here, I invite happiness and positivity into my life. So there there you go. That's the advice. Really focus on the positive aspects of who you are and your life. So focus on those things and really remember what your priorities are in moments where people are probably rage baiting you. I call it rage baiting. People say things intentionally or do things intentionally to sometimes get a negative reaction from an individual. That's what rage baiting is. And it's important for you to recognize the patterns, as I would have previously mentioned, but more so, remember why you exist. Remember why you're here on this planet Earth, and it's not to internalize negative experiences or people. All right, I'm courageous and full of perseverance. Yeah, and persevere through whatever it is you're dealing with. Currently, you are more than able to persevere and preserve, the positive aspects of you. Okay. All right, all the best. I hope you guys enjoyed this general reading. If you like, don't forget to subscribe. If you don't like, feel free to visit another channel. If you don't like what I say on here, you do not have to watch. But if you love me, return, like, comment. All right, bye.